Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Homebrew Weekday. Or weekly or whatever. One of these days I'll get that settled out. But anyways, happy HBW. There we go. We covered all bases. How are you guys? How's it going? I have a beer here. I can't talk too much about this beer because it's not really ready yet. Okay? This is just a preliminary tasting to see what the heck's going on. This is Terp's Korean Kids, well, his company, his store, BIY Homebrew Supply. This is the beer I brewed last week. I didn't really brew it last week, don't worry. It was brewed a couple of weeks ago. A video was put out after the fact. Now, it was just kegged, and it is obviously not really matured. But I thought I would keep you guys updated on its progress. So here's the thing. I'll put it down just for a moment so I don't make it all warm with my hand. It brewed for about, let's see, I have a calendar on my iPad. It brewed for about 11 days. And then I thought, okay, I can either put this in a secondary, I can leave it, which I usually just leave it. I don't transfer my beer to a secondary. Or you can keg it, and that's your secondary. Now, if the fermentation is done and the gravity's down to what it's supposed to be, what's predicted by the recipe or whatever, then I'm a fan of either just leaving it or putting it in a keg, putting a little bit of CO2 on it, purging it of CO2, so purging it of oxygen, so that CO2 is only what's in the keg, so that way the beer is safe, and then just sticking it in the fridge and letting it just cold crash. And that's what I did. So this has been cold crashed. It's not clear. Actually, it was clearer when it went in. Of course, they haze up when you chill them down, and this is it. And this is not an official review because that will come later when the beer is more aged. But this is a preliminary look at it and taste to see what it might taste like when it's actually been aged a bit. Let's give it a whirl. Cheers. And it's very good. Now, this is not the first time I tasted it. I did pour a glass earlier, and I let my son taste it, and I just took it up to him and just gave it to him and said, "Here, try this." And so he took a sip, and he went, "Oh!" No, he didn't do that, but he said, "Wow, that's a good beer, Dad." So I explained to him what it was and everything. It's the Honey Blonde Ale that I did from BIY Homebrew Supply. So there you have it. So in about another, I don't know, let's just say another week, we'll try it again. And we'll see where it is. And we'll do a real beer review on it, an actual Craig's Homebrew review video on it, okay? I want to give a shout out to, excuse me, carbonation. Excuse me, a shout out to SJ Pour, because I still think of him every time I make one of these weekly videos, because he's the guy who originally came up with the concept of Homebrew Wednesday, or as he called it, Homebrew Wednesday. So if you see him, if you get to his channel and see one of his videos, say hi to him for me. Let him know that I gave him a shout out, because he's the man. Okay, he does a lot of things for this homebrew community, and so I just want to make sure that everybody knows that he's the one who came up with Homebrew Wednesday, or Wednesday as I call it, different parts of the world, And even though I've played with the name a little bit, just to make it, because I can't always do it on a Wednesday, it's his brainchild, and I don't think I'd be doing this, or at least I wouldn't have been doing it for this long if he hadn't come up with the idea. So, had a lot of questions about kegging. By the way, take your Gravol, okay? We're on the GoPro today, so just we're gonna be. Don't puke on your keyboard or anything like that. And let's just take a look back here. Video was shot off the cuff. I haven't planned a thing. Well, there we have David's homebrew. That's my son. He came down today and he goes, "Hey, Dad, look at all the action going on there, And I said, well, son, Well, son, that is krausen. And, you know, I explained it all to him and whatnot. I showed him the ones back here. It's kind of dark back here, but, you know, they all have it too. So that's a great way to check if you don't have an airlock, if your airlock's not working, because sometimes that happens, you know. Your airlock, it's like people are going, there's nothing happening with the airlock. It's not working. Well, don't worry about that. Maybe there's a crack in it or something. Check for this. Krausen ring. If that's there, your yeast is off to the races. I will admit I'm an old school home brewer, and I do like an airlock. I do like to see that bubbling. It's just that, it's like the red light on the camera. You know, it's recording. Yep, it's still recording. Yep, no problem. So I like that. But if your airlock isn't going, then there are other things you can look for. Even listening to it. Take the lid off and take a listen. Is it still fizzing away? Is there still bubbles? You know, take a gravity reading, everything. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. So, hydrometer, you got to have a hydrometer. What the hell? How do you use it? What's it for? Well, mine looks, the tube, the holder for it is old, very old, which is why it looks that way. But it's clean, and I make sure it's clean before I use it. And so, there you have it. So yeah, that's his brew. I did have a heat belt on it for a little while, but I unplugged it because it got a little warm, and I was like, oh shit, you know, take it off. We don't want beer fermenting too warm. So it's okay now. It's running about 72, which is fine. As I showed you a little while ago, if we can just ride over to that's a barley wine going on back there. And that one just needs to be cleaned out. I have to clean that out after this video. It's kegged a little while ago. So barley wine is it's a strong beer. I think, and you know, you guys can chime in the comments, but I think the reason why it's called a barley wine is because, first of all, it's made of barley, which is what beer is made out of. But secondly, the alcohol, the ABV is above a certain percentage, right? That's why it's called wine. I think there's some sort of a distinction when it becomes wine versus beer. But a barley wine is still beer. And there's like 3 hop additions, and there's steeped grains, lots of liquid malt extract in there. I think there's some dry malt extract as well. So it's beer. But it's going to be about, I think it's about 9% alcohol. So it's called barley wine. That one I will have to be careful with. I can't just sit there and go, cheers, 17. Ooh. Yeah, you can't do that with that. It's going to make you crazy, silly, and probably people aren't going to like you very much if you drink it that way. So that'll be a treat. I wanted to talk a little bit about, listen, I've had a lot of questions lately. I'm doing this off the cuff. I have not planned this video at all. Usually I have an idea what I'm going to talk about, but today I don't. But I did think when I was pouring this beer out of my keg, I have had a lot of questions lately about kegging. And that's good because that means that a lot of people are getting into it. Now, I don't want to discourage people from sticking with, you know, what works for them. If bottling works, then keep on bottling. It's not a hierarchical, is that the word? Hierarchical thing where when you keg, you're better than people who bottle. It's not that. You guys know me. I'm not into that kind of thing. You know, this whole discussion about all grain extract, you know, all this, I don't believe in that kind of a hierarchical. I seem to have a problem with that word, but you know what I mean. I don't have that sort of thinking. All right. If you don't have the facilities to keg your beer, you need an extra fridge or a freezer with a temperature controller. You got to get the CO2 and, you know, the regulator and the tanks, you know, and the kegs, you know, and all that. And you got to get set up and you got to make it work and you got to practice. And, you know, you're playing with your beer. You're taking that beer that you normally would just throw into bottles with some priming sugar and cap it up, let it sit for a few weeks and then drink. Now you're doing something different with it, and it's a bit scary, but don't be afraid. I am here to help you. There's lots of videos and help on YouTube about kegging. I have a video series myself, which I think probably needs to be upgraded. I think I need to add more kegging videos to YouTube. So I will think about that and get that happening, you know, because I've changed a lot of things, and there's been a lot of information that I've gathered just from doing it for so long that I think needs to be conveyed out to you guys. I've talked about, you know, forced carbonation versus leaving it in the refrigerator for, you know, a certain amount of time under a certain amount of pressure. I've, you know, talked about all this stuff. There's little details that I've discovered that make a difference, and even different types of beer with different ingredients will carbonate differently. For example, this beer that I'm drinking now, this honey blonde ale, it was a little bit more difficult to carbonate just because there's honey in it. There's more adjuncts in it. There's, you know, it's a bit of a, if lack of a better term, thicker beer because it's got that mouthfeel, you know, that sort of more of a less watery mouthfeel to it. So the carbonating is different. It's not harder, it's just a different procedure. Once you get used to all the different beers, and of course you can fix the carbonation when you carbonate your beer in a keg. If you overcarbonate it, you can fix it. If you undercarbonate it, you can fix it. You can fix it, and it can, you know, it can be what you want it to be, right? So for example, I overcarbonated this beer by accident, so I just released some of the CO2 from the keg and reconnected the gas, and now it's fine. I mean, it's so easy to control. If you over or undercarbonate your beer in bottles, well, that's a bit of a different story. I've had complaints recently about people who've bottled some beers and no carbonation occurred at all. Mostly on the 17 Brew Crew forum and in the comments below some of my videos. And there's lots of reasons for that. Lots of reasons. I mean, it could be, you know, your yeast died. You are brewing a beer that's too strong, like it's got too much alcohol in it. The yeast couldn't go that far. Your bottles are not sealing properly. You estimated the amount of bottling sugar you put in. I mean, there's lots of reasons why. And so the thing about kegging is that it takes a lot of that guesswork out. You basically, once you get your procedure down, you're good to go, okay? And you can adjust and readjust until you get it just right. I bottled for years and years and years. And if I say years and a few more times, you're going to get frustrated with me. But years and years and years and years and years and years, I did. I did it for a long time, and I actually started to hate it after a while. Home brewing for me was a chore because when bottling day came up, I didn't even want to get out of bed. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it was just, I didn't want to do it. I hated bottling. Some people find it fun, and that's great. I'm glad, because I didn't. But if you're one of, you know, a person like me who just can't stand bottling, I would hate to see that be the reason why you stop homebrewing. And that's happened. People have stopped because of the bottling process. It's just too much work. So don't let that get you down. If you're thinking about an alternative method of packaging your beer, then kegging is the way to go. And listen, I mean, I did a 4-part series on kegging a while back, but I'd be more than happy to do another sort of refresher video on just talking about it and what you need and the types of tanks you can get and the sizes, the types of refrigeration you can do. There's all kinds of subjects that I can cover on kegging that I think, because of the questions I've been getting recently, I think it's worth revisiting this whole subject. Other thing I was thinking about talking about, what you wash your glasses with. Now, I wash my glasses with OxyClean, and that's it. Either I rinse them out, if it's the next day or whatever, I'll just rinse it out, use it again, or if it's getting a little bit grungy, OxyClean, and I don't seem to have a problem with any side effects of using that. It rinses off clean, and it works great. That light's bright. God, see, turn around. It's this way, so I can now I can see you. Hi, Hal, how you doing? But Do you guys use dish soap? Do you use dishwashers? Have you found a difference between the different methods of washing your glasses? I would love to hear that. I would love to collect that information down in the comments below. So please do that, because that is an interesting topic, and I would love to hear what you guys think about that. Just a few updates from other areas of my, things I've mentioned. The Craig's Dungeon series, yeah, I've thought about that a lot. You guys, a lot of you seem to think you'd like to see that. So I've been thinking about it, and what I would do and stuff. So just leave it with me. I'll see what happens. It might not be a weekly thing, but certainly it would be occasional, where I could put something out where I'm just puttering around down here doing something, whatever. When that ages a little bit, it's already good, okay? It's already good, but I have to give it the benefit of the doubt that, when that clears up a bit and ages a bit, this is going to be a good beer. The last thing I wanted to sort of cover here is something that I bring up a lot, and I think some people may be getting a little tired of it. That's why I left it till last. So you can always cut this video and, rate it thumbs up and move on. Right? Let me see how I'm going to word this. I've been doing this a long time, making videos for a long time. I've said a lot of things over the years. There's nothing, completely polar about anything I've ever said. I think I've stayed sort of the same belief system, although some small things may have changed. But one of the things that I always tend to mention a lot, and you guys know I do, is the decision that you are allowed to make when you decide which way you're going to brew your beer. And I'm not going to say that again today. I'm not going to go back into that topic. But the reason why I talk about that a lot is because home brewing has changed in the last 30 years or more. Okay, I'm just talking since I've been alive. Who knows what happened, many years ago. But since I've been home brewing, and I started home brewing at about 1989, I think it was, or 1990, I think maybe somewhere. Let's just say 1990. Okay, I started home brewing. So much has changed. There's so many different ways of doing it now, and I just don't like when people criticize change. In other words, it used to be that the only way to do it was this way, and then another way came about, but it was kind of not as good, but it improved, and this and that. The evolution of home brewing in the last 30 years is traumatic. All right? And no longer do you have to stick to a certain method. And I'm not going to favor home, all grain versus this. I don't want to do that anymore. You guys are some people are getting tired of it. I do have to get the message out, though, that there are choices, right? And not everybody watches my videos, all of them at the same time. Somebody come into the channel and they'll see my latest video. That's it. And, I have to continue to spread the message that there's more than one way to do it. And that's the reason why I touch on it once in a while. Sometimes I get a little bit sarcastic about it, and I know that. Because I myself get tired of talking about it. I really do. Right? But I also get tired of people criticizing methods, of brewing. Now, there's lots of ways to introduce people to home brewing. What I've chosen to do, what I've hung my hat on in this channel, is to try and make a scenario where somebody can brew beer and actually successfully brew it. Even if it doesn't taste the best. The first time doing it, they might screw something up, or maybe they don't sanitize properly, or they, you know, whatever, for whatever reason, it's beer, but there's room for improvement. Well, you know what? At least, like, you know, when you go on your first, you know, you learn how to drive a car, okay? So you're 16, 18, whatever age it is in your country, and you go on your first driving lesson, and he tells you to parallel park. And that, you know, chances are you're gonna screw it up. I nearly said the F word there. You're gonna screw it up, right? You're gonna screw. I mean, if you do it the first time, right off the bat, wow, yikes. You want to drive like a low-end putt-putt 4-cylinder vehicle for the rest of your life? Who can tell you that you can't do that? Right? It's good for you. It works for you. It gets you from A to B. Low maintenance, you know? And I'm not trying to like beat this dead horse that's been beaten and beaten and beaten. You guys know I've done this. That's why I left this for the end of the video. Out of all the things I talk about, I think that this is a very important subject, which is why I bring it up a lot. It's not because I'm being trolled or tantalized or anything like that. That's got nothing to do with it. All that does is add to my awareness of the problem that still is out there. And that problem is that people, some very small amount of people, still think that you can't make good beer out of extract. Or even the canned extract with pre-hopped kits. Some people think you can't. And that's a problem for me. And when I get, you know, the odd comment or trollish, you know, remark about that, all it does is motivate me to put the message out there. Yes, you can. You can do it. You can make good beer out of that. If you can't make at least a decent beer from a simpler method of brewing, then we would have to talk to you about what's wrong with your procedures. Did I spill that? Yeah, I did. Well, there wasn't much left anyways, I don't think, so it doesn't matter. Admittedly, a lot of times when I run out of things to talk about on these videos, I do resort to this, but it's so important. Okay, ready? Whoa, boy. That was a bit of a rough pour. Oh, jeez. Sorry about that. If that made you nauseous, do not go on a roller coaster. Okay, I hate roller coasters. I won't go on one to save anyone's life. I won't not go on a roller coaster. I hate them. To me, to get into a car or a train or anything like that, that's gonna like completely go out of control like that and go up and down hills and around curves and over loops and shit, I'm sorry, I can live without it. I'll sit on the bench and wait for you. That's me, you know. But I don't have a problem with these camera things, and they don't bother me. I played video games for years, where the stuff's moving around all over the place, and you know, it never bothered me. So I get it. That's why I try to make these as smooth as possible when I use the GoPro. But it's, you know, it's a handheld camera, so I can't always do it perfect. But thank you so much, guys, for being patient with me. I do say some things over and over again for reasons. I need to make sure people understand, and that if they don't watch all the videos, they at least get that information from even one of the videos. And I just appreciate your positive feedback, which I get a lot of, and that is very important to me. So thank you very much for that. My other YouTube channels are posted in the links down below in the comment section, and you know, the more info, whatever it is. And I'm out. I've taken up enough of your time. Go watch some more videos on YouTube and learn. Thank you, guys. Cheers. 17.